Warning, the following video contains spoilers of Viper and also a lot of flashing lights. Specifically for the flashing lights, you might want to be careful here.
That's too early, fuck. Oh, we got 100 bits from Tick Twitch, thank you so much. Hi Caddy, starting watching you back when you did the zoo race with Brutal Moose and giving you a lot of obscure PS1 games. I'm wondering if you have one which was a sort of a Star Fox clone called Viper. No, never heard of it.
That's how we do it in my garden.
Sounds cool though.
Yeah, no. You can wait. Hey guys, it's Sick here, and this is literally my fourth attempt at this whole review malarkey. And what a challenge I've set for myself today. You see, I was originally going to review... Shit, there goes the game. I was originally going to be reviewing Busby 3D because it's a very easy target and it's something from my childhood. But when I jumped onto the stream of a YouTuber known as Kid Icarus, who is known for his PlayStation reviews, I asked him, had he heard of a game called Viper? Because I know that he has a relatively large library. To which his response was,
No, never heard of it.
So I figured, you know what, Busby 3D can just simmer in that part right there, and let's go ahead and talk about a game that is part of my childhood that nobody seems to know. There are a lot of games on the PlayStation 1, well over 3,000 of them. Naturally, with a library that big, you're going to get a lot of games which fly under the radar. Some of those games go the way of Earthbound or Rule of Rose, where they raise to an absurdly high collector's price. Fuck off, I'm not paying that much for a game, how old is this? Like 11 years old, get out of here! Or they fade into obscurity, never to be seen again. Which can suck because there's some really good games that go into this pool. And one of those obscure games is Viper. To be brutally honest, I don't quite remember my childhood history of the game. I know I had it, but I don't remember ever getting rid of it. It's almost like some weird Mandela effect. So for years, every single time I kept hearing a musical tune, every single time, I was always wondering, what is it? What is that tune from? Wasn't that game. I remember owning that game. But eventually, I found it. Viper. What may be the most obscure game on the PlayStation 1. Don't quote me on that part. I have not done any research. I am not claiming that is the case. Viper's history is a little bit hard to find. Seemingly it was released only in the PAL regions, and is actually the result of playstyles not mixing together on a separate game project. This resulted in two separate games being made instead. Tunnel B1, which, while also obscure, at least got a fucking Wikipedia article, and Viper, which was only mentioned in that same Wikipedia article. The game was developed by Example Architects, a German developer whose library includes Doofus, Another World, no, not that one, and Blue Angel 69, of which I have several questions, and published by Ocean Software. And whereas Tunnel B1 got at least a bit of recognition, its younger brother is hardly mentioned. To give an idea of just how obscure this game is, from 2014 to 2018, I was the only person with a full playthrough of this game on YouTube. On YouTube. A website with over 1 billion users. And a very active Let's Play and review scene. And yet even now, after all these years in 2020, as of the time of this recording, there are only 3 other people that have playthroughs of this game on their YouTube channels. And I'm going to be the first review on this, YouTubes. So, what better way to give exposure to a game by putting it on a YouTube channel that has under 3,000 subscribers? This was a terrible idea, but I'm doing this anyway. So we start off with an FMV, which looks okay for the time, if a little bit grainy, though I don't know if this is due to an emulator. Yes, I'm using an emulator, shut up. But the models look decent, and admittedly, it can be pretty intense with help from its music score, but what's the backstory? Who are these people? Who's this guy? What's this? Well, you won't have a clue what the plot is unless you have the manual. It's a bit long-winded, and it may be a full page, and it's got a lot of stuff that's not really important, so I'll just go ahead and summarize it. So, Those robots are actually aliens. That is Eddie Crane. That is a Viper, a custom attack helicopter, which according to that world, it's legal to do? And you're going on a suicide mission to either bring the aliens out of hiding or take them out yourself. You got all that? Is that in your memory right now? Good, because there's absolutely nothing about the story in this game. Ah, yes. This brings it all back. Okay, admittedly, this title screen isn't all that impressive visually. I mean, it is literally just the box art cover put on as a title screen. But that music... Honestly, that's the only reason why I would ever stay on the title screen, just because of the music. But we're not going to get anywhere just being on a title screen, so let's go ahead and let's get started with the game. Okay, I'm ready. Reliving my childhood, here we go. I mean... thought that's what the loading screen is. Shit! So this is level 1, this city, and I can say for a fact that the pop-in's pretty bad, okay? The pop-in's not that good, and that's pretty bad. This showcases one of the bigger glaring issues with the game. It has rather poor draw distance, and considering the speed that you're moving forward, that means that enemies are nearly right in your face. It makes it really hard to react sometimes. Not to mention that this is arguably the worst level of the game. The level is just way too cramped. There's no room for you to dodge the projectile, so that means that when you turn a corner, an enemy's going to be right in your face and shoot you point blank before you can react. Oh, come on, that's not fair. Admittedly, with the pop-in though, it does get a little bit easier. Mostly because you get stronger weapons, the levels open up a lot more, and the enemies begin to spawn further back. It's just, this level really sucks. This game plays a lot like Star Fox, well, in the sense that you're flying forward in a 3D world with no way to stop, and you have to shoot your way through to the end of the level. You have a few alternative paths to take, but they all go the same way, where the boss is. That said, you have some pretty good mobility, and I think this is a good point to talk about the difficulty. You see, unlike most games, the enemies aren't smarter or more numerous. More so, if you pick the harder helicopters, you take more damage and you're less mobile. Which doesn't make sense. I thought the Viper's meant to be a sailing-out helicopter, yet it has the lowest armor and mobility. But it does show how much emphasis the game has on maneuverability. In addition, you have a shield power-up, which can make you invulnerable, though you have to replenish it. And given a lot of the enemy projectiles home in on you, it's very important that you dodge. Oftentimes, though, the tracking on the projectiles is fair enough that you honestly do feel like it's your fault for not dodging. Minus when the level's too dark to see, or another bit I'll get to later. But that's also as well because the controls themselves are fairly smooth. The Viper can feel a little unruly, but, you know, I think that just adds to the difficulty of the game. Plus all the other power-ups are to separate buttons, but there is a small problem of which is, in order to keep continuously firing, you have to keep mashing the fire button. How did they get this part so wrong? We've had plenty of amazing shoot-em-ups before this. Gradius, Thunder Force 4, Parodius, and even though it's more of a run and gun, Gunstar Heroes. In all of those, they have the same thing. In order to fire continuously, you just hold the button down. Why? Because oftentimes there's a ton of enemies running by, or there's a lot of health sponges. But Viper seem to have taken notes from the Silver Surfer on the NES. I'll say this right now, if you play this game, play it with a turbo controller or the turbo setting on your emulator. Otherwise, your phone's probably going to fall off by level 2. But we fight our way through the city until we enter the subway where... This is a theme. This is a theme that stayed in my head all the way through my childhood. And it's for the first boss as well. And it's a pretty cool first boss, actually. You're fighting an armored train and you have to destroy each of the individual train carriages, which have different attacks. Then, right at the end, when you think you're just going to fight the front part of the train, it starts flying and fighting you as an airship, which I honestly think is really cool. Back when I was a kid, I wasn't actually expecting it. And thankfully, as the first boss, it's somewhat kind to you, since it gives you power-ups as you go by. You'll find that a lot of the time, it doesn't do this normally. Yes, I kind of figured when the screen completely whited out that I had indeed completed the level. Outside of the final cutscene, the only FMVs you're going to ever see is the get ready and the level complete ones, which basically means there's no way to follow the story. Eddie Crane doesn't talk, and there's no dialogue between any parts of the level, so there's literally no story outside of what you see. That could be pretty good for a minimalist side of things, but really, a kid's meant to know this? And yes, a kid, this game is free plus. Still, we get to level 2, where
The whole city's on fire!
and honestly, this level's absurdly short. The boss is pretty cool, but there's nothing crazy to talk about. So let's just go to level 3. Level 3, Canyons. Wait, shouldn't this been a level 1? I mean, in the FMV, we're fighting in a canyon. What, did Eddie Crane realize he needed a pint of milk, so he quickly detoured over to the nearest Tesco before continuing on his merry way? You also get mid-level bosses. These two are uninteresting. It's literally just a giant worm and a generic UFO. And at the end of the level, you fight a large statue that sounds like he's enjoying something a little too much. Level 4, the desert. Okay, I need to come clean here. I have no idea how to describe the level design in a shmup. I really don't. You got obstacles, you got enemies. Thematically, it looks good. But I don't know how to... This was really a bad idea. I can say, though, that this level has my favorite boss in the game. Like most of the bosses, it has multiple faces, but unlike the ones that you fought currently, where you're forced to either chase them or stay put in this one little square area, you're able to rotate a full 360 degrees around it. Yeah, sure, it's no all-in all-terrain mode, but fuck it makes the attacks funner to dodge, and honestly, it's more interesting. I wish they did this more, but they don't. I should really stop comparing this to Star Fox since they're only matches that they're both 3D. Level 5, Cave. I think at this point it's a good idea to point out another big issue with the game, one which I did say I was going to talk about a bit earlier. Visually and auditorily, it's crowded. The ships ahead of you get drowned out in your own projectiles, and no, there is no first-person view in this game to make it easier. So what that means is that you'll inadvertently take some hits which you could have dodged if you had seen anything, but either your own projectiles were just blinded out, or your helicopter itself was blocking you from view. Unless, of course, you're weaving about, in which case, I guess that's what you should be doing. And the audio as well, this is a really loud game. I think the only other game that had like a colossally large bass volume was Chaos Legion with its music. And with all the explosions, it's difficult to hear the music over it all. Not to mention, they only have one explosion sound effect, so that means that if multiple blow up simultaneously, such as if you use a smart bomb to kill a screen... That was not an edit. I did not up the volume of that. What you heard was the volume of which I heard that explosion when I used a smart bomb. It sounds like they want to increase the amount of tinnitus in the world. There's not much to say about the levels after this, though. They get more expansive, more machine-like, but I do want to point something out. These are my lives. And there are a lot of them, because once you level up your weapons enough, the game becomes a cakewalk. The boss's health bars vanish really quickly because of the immense firepower, and even if you're only able to get a few hits in due to dodging, you're still carving off chunks of their health. When you die, you come back with full health and your weapons only drop down one level. It got to the point where if I was low, I would just get a checkpoint, die, continue on, and more often than not get a primary or secondary power-up to bring that weapon to full power. Also, don't touch these skulls. You think there's some sort of smart bomb, but no, it hurts you. It's dumb, it doesn't even mention it in the manual. Well, it does, but it doesn't say what it does. Okay, nearly at the end of the game, and... bonus stage? Yes, it turns out. This game has bonus stages. And I got one right near the end of the game. See these weird diamond-shaped thingies? These are reward points. You get 50 of them, and you get to go through a giant ring at the end of the level, grab the Chaos Emeralds in the maze, and beat the butt of Dr. Robotnik. Wait, that's the wrong game. But you still fly through rings in what is actually a decent test of your mobility. And at the end of it, you get a 1-up. As if it didn't get enough of it already. You know, late 90s games were pretty obsessed with flying through rings. At this point, I need to talk about the music. I've been holding off on it because I just need to say it straight. This is one of the best soundtracks on the PlayStation 1 as far as I'm concerned. All of them had this orchestral techno feel. It's intense, it's adrenaline pumping, it is epic, and the first boss theme, as I said, is the reason I still remembered the game after all those years when my original copy went missing, sold, I don't know. Admittedly though, it likes to use the boss themes a lot. That's pretty odd to me because minus 2 of the stages, every single level has a unique stage feed. The music was made by 2DB Music Productions, and while their library isn't huge, they have made music for Loon, Super Monkey Ball Adventure, and Hugs of War? Shit, I remember that game! I'm gonna have to review that game at one point, aren't I? Okay, Organic, the second to last level, and this is pretty gross. The fact that the walls pulsate, it's actually pretty impressive for PlayStation 1 times, though, admittedly, this is one of the dullest levels. You pretty much fight a bunch of easy enemies, and then you fight this thing, which does the whole, is it dead? Oh no, not really! And then the rest of it is just dodging crystal dildos, I don't fucking know, till you get to the final level, Inner Core. This actually starts pretty ominous, actually. You fly into a large cavern where, sitting upon a pedestal, you see a giant egg, which looks kind of like a coconut because this is PlayStation 1. Forcing the edge to hatch spawns this thing, which flees, and after killing it, you get the Queen. Well, at least I assume it's the Queen, even though I have no idea how this skinny bitch shit out this egg. Honestly, the Queen's actually pretty intense. Her weak spots are difficult to hit, she goes through several phases, which is more than just firing something different. And it's a unique little twist, her final health bar is not even an attack. It's literally you fire everything you've got at her until she falls over dead, which feels oddly satisfying. Hey, look at that! Did it with 0 health remaining. But still, that's... Wait, why are we still going?
Checkpoint.
Why did it give me a checkpoint? Why did you give me an extra life? What are you planning next, Viper? Excuse me? Yeah, I don't know what's the point of giving me this stuff. Especially since it's at the very end. Like a skull I can understand, but this stuff, why? So the ending cutscene plays, where Eddie finishes his one-man mission, as the sun rises on the dawn of a new day. Also, the alien base explodes. And with that, what few remnants escape, and that makes me sad. And honestly, that's it. That's the game in full. There's no alternative pathways you can go to change the story. There's no 100% completion. There's just the different helicopters. So the next question you're probably asking, how long is this game? Well, including notes and the number of times I died, it only took me an hour and a half to beat this game. This was a full price release when it came out. Look, I know that not every single game needs to be like a 10-hour story, but here's the thing, if you're having a short game, it needs to have replayability. Street Fighter is a short game, but it's got tons of replayability because of the multiplayer aspect. This has no replayability outside of 2 other helicopters. Back then, it really wasn't worth the price. I just want to point something out here. While I was writing this script, I found out that Viper is actually on the PC. It's on Steam. And the crazy thing about it is that it still has all of the problems with, like, the actual game. Like, the whole having to tap, and there's actually no control support either. So it's actually a bad port. You know, it's actually not that good of a port. And hey, look, I'm the only one with a written review on this game. So fuck, I must really love this game, right? Don't get me wrong, I do think that this is a good game. But the problems that it has, the whole fact that you have to rapidly fire in order to continuously firing at enemies. The fact that it's so short, the audio issues with like the overlapping sounds and such, and the fact that there's 0 replayability despite its short length. I don't think it would be worth it if it went up to a collector's price like Rule of Rose. But it's on Steam, fairly cheap, if you can get over the fact that it doesn't have control support, or who knows, maybe they'll put it in sometime after this. But for now, I would say get it on Steam because it's a good game. And let's hope that it doesn't go up in price as a collector's item because it's really not worth it. So with that, I bid you farewell. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and who knows, maybe I'll go to a review of some succulent... I don't have my Hogs of War game. Somebody borrowed it, so I don't have access to it at the moment, but that's on Steam as well, apparently. And apparently the Steam version is shit. Hey, look at that, I actually fulfilled a promise where I said I would get this done before the end of the month. Go me. Yeah, I literally had been holding on to this for a good 6 months because I'm absolutely lazy, but hopefully people enjoyed it. I can be happy to know that despite those 6 months, this is still the first review of Hyper on YouTube, which is great. I don't know if I'll do more of these. I guess it just depends on how people think, because I have no clue how to do reviews and I kind of shot myself in the foot here. Busby 3D would have been a better option given it's an easy target. But still, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.